如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。像学母语一样学英语，我们开始吧。
Nishi was a quiet man. His face did not often show what he was feeling inside, but his heart was full of big emotions. He used to be a policeman, a detective, doing hard and sometimes dangerous work. Now his life was heavy with sadness. His wife, Miyuki, was very, very sick. The doctors said she did not have much time left to live. She was so sick that she could not speak anymore, but her eyes still showed her feelings. Nishi loved Miyuki more than anything in the world. They also had a little girl once, but she had died when she was very young, and that was a deep sadness that never went away for Nishi and Miyuki. Nishi also carried a heavy feeling of guilt from his job. Not long ago, something terrible happened to his good friend and police partner, Horibe. They were supposed to be watching a dangerous bad man together during a stakeout. But on that same day, Nishi's wife, Miyuki, was very, very sick in the hospital. Nishi felt he had to see her, so he left his post for a short while to go to the hospital. While Nishi was gone from the stakeout, the bad man they were watching made a move. Horibe faced it, and he was shot by him. He was hurt very, very badly. He would never walk again. He had to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Nishi felt a terrible, crushing weight of guilt. He thought, if I had been there, if I had not left my job to see Miyuki, maybe Horibe would still be okay. This thought stayed with him, heavy in his heart. Around the same time, another sad thing happened with a different colleague. Nishi and a younger policeman were trying to catch a criminal. Nishi, perhaps moving too fast and not thinking everything through, rushed to grab the criminal. The younger policeman came to help hold the man down, but in the struggle, the criminal's gun went off, and the younger policeman was shot and killed. Nishi felt he was also to blame for this, for being too reckless in that moment. He had seen too much trouble, too much hurt, and felt a heavy share of the blame. After these things, Nishi couldn't be a policeman anymore. The sadness and the guilt were too much. He quit his job. He wanted to take care of the people he felt he had let down. He went to see Horibe. Horibe's life had changed completely. He was in his wheelchair, and his wife and daughter had left him because things were too hard. Horibe felt very alone and sad. He started to paint pictures. Nishi would bring him money and good paints and brushes. Horibe's pictures were strange and beautiful, full of bright colors. Sometimes he painted flowers with animal faces or animals made of flowers. They were pictures that showed all the mixed-up feelings in his heart. Sadness, a little bit of beauty, and maybe a little bit of scariness too. Nishi also tried to help the wife of the young policeman who had died, giving her money. But Nishi had another big problem. To pay for Miyuki's doctors and to help Horibe, he had borrowed a lot of money from some very bad men, yakuza, who were like gangsters. These men were not kind. They wanted their money back, and they wanted it now, with extra. They started to bother Nishi, sending tough-looking men to his house to threaten him. They hit him and told him he had to pay soon, or else. Nishi looked at Miyuki, his quiet, sick wife. He knew she didn't have long. He wanted to do something good for her, something special, in the little time they had left. He wanted to take her on a trip, to see beautiful places, to have some peaceful moments together before she was gone. But he had no money, only debts to the scary yakuza men. So, Nishi, the quiet man who used to be a policeman, made a very dangerous plan. He decided to rob a bank. He knew it was wrong, but he felt it was the only way to get the money he needed. He planned it very carefully, using what he knew from being a policeman. He got a car and cleverly painted it and changed it until it looked just like a real police car. He also found clothes that looked like a policeman's uniform. Dressed like this and driving the fake police car, he went to the bank. He walked in looking very official, as if he was there on police business. He was very calm and very quick. He got a lot of money. No one dared to stop a policeman. He was a good policeman, so he knew how to be a good bank robber too, just for this one time, for Miyuki. After the robbery, Nishi first went to see the yakuza. He gave them a big part of the money. They were surprised he had so much, but they were still greedy and wanted all of it, plus more interest. They were still a danger. Then Nishi did something kind. He sent some money in a secret envelope to the wife of the young policeman who had died. He also bought Horibe some very special paints from France and a nice beret, like a real artist wears. Horibe was happy for these gifts and kept painting his strange, colorful pictures. Then Nishi went home to Miyuki. The car he had made to look like a police car was the one they would use for their journey. He gently helped Miyuki into it. She was very weak, but her eyes looked at him with love and trust. And so they started their last journey together. They drove far away from the city to quiet places in the countryside. They saw mountains covered in snow. Miyuki touched the soft snow, a small, gentle smile on her face. They went to old temples where people prayed. They walked by the ocean, watching the waves. Nishi bought her a little bell that made a pretty sound in the wind. Miyuki didn't talk, but Nishi knew she was feeling things. Sometimes she would try to do little things to make him happy too. She would make a little paper crane or try to play a simple game with him. Once they bought a kite. It was shaped like a fish. They tried to fly it on a windy day, but it was hard. They laughed a little. These were small, quiet moments of happiness in the middle of their sadness. Nishi always took pictures of Miyuki with a special camera that made pictures come out right away. He wanted to keep these last memories. But the danger was not far away. The Yakuza men, the ones Nishi still owed money to, were looking for him. They were angry and wanted all the money. And Nishi's old friend from the police force, a detective named Nakamura, was also looking for him. Nakamura knew Nishi had robbed the bank. He was a good policeman, and it was his job to catch Nishi. But Nakamura also remembered Nishi as a good detective, and he felt sad for all the trouble Nishi was in. He didn't really want to catch Nishi, but he had to do his job. A few times on their trip, the Yakuza men found Nishi. When they did, Nishi, the quiet man, would change. His eyes would become cold and hard. He would protect Miyuki. He would fight the bad men with a sudden, terrible quickness. He would use anything he could find. His hands, a pair of chopsticks, his gun. He always won these fights, and he made sure the bad men would not bother them again. Then he would calmly clean himself up and go back to Miyuki, as if nothing had happened, his face quiet again. Miyuki never saw these fights. Nishi always kept the violence away from her. He wanted her last days to be peaceful. Horibe, back in his room, kept painting. He painted a picture of a snowman with a flower growing out of its head. He painted a picture of a crab with flower petals for legs. He painted a beautiful blue sky, and then he painted a gun in the middle of it with blood. His paintings were like Nishi's life. A little bit of beauty, a lot of sadness, and sudden, hard things. Nishi and Miyuki's journey took them to many places. They saw cherry blossoms blooming, so beautiful and pink, but they knew the flowers would not last long, just like their time together. They went to a beach. The sun was warm. The sea was blue. It felt peaceful. Miyuki sat on the sand, looking out at the water. She found a small, pretty shell. Nishi helped her fly their fish kite. It danced in the wind, high above them. For a little while, they were just a man and a woman, together, with no sadness, no danger. Miyuki took a piece of paper and a pen. She slowly wrote 2 words in Japanese. Arigato. It meant thank you. She showed it to Nishi. Nishi looked at her, his heart full. He understood. He felt thank you, too. Thank you for her love, for their time, for everything. But then Nishi saw a police car coming in the distance along the beach road. It was his old friend, Nakamura, all alone. He had finally found him. There was nowhere left to run. Nishi looked at Miyuki. She looked back at him, her eyes calm and full of love. She knew their journey was at its end. Nakamura got out of his car. He stood watching from a little way off, by his car. He did not rush forward. Nishi looked towards Nakamura. He gave a small, quiet nod. It was like he was saying, "I see you. Please just wait a moment." Nakamura seemed to understand. He waited. Nishi held Miyuki close. They looked at the blue sea together for a long moment. The fish kite still danced in the sky above them. It was a beautiful, quiet, and very sad moment. Then, from where he stood, Nakamura heard two soft sounds, like a distant firework in the calm air. When Nakamura finally walked over to them, Nishi and Miyuki were sitting together on the sand, leaning against each other, very still. Their journey was over. Perhaps Nishi, in his own quiet way, had made sure that he and Miyuki would leave this hard world together in a moment of peace that he chose before any more sadness or pain could touch her. And somewhere, Horibe finished a painting. It was a picture of big, beautiful fireworks exploding in a dark sky, bright, colorful, shining for just a moment, and then gone, leaving only the memory of their light. Hanabi, flowers of fire. That was Nishi's story, a story of a quiet man, a sad policeman, a loving husband, and a fierce protector. A story of love and sadness and a final quiet firework.
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目，如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞或者留下评论，这对我很重要。这里是像学母语一样学英语频道，我们下个视频见。